episode 69 of 100 Songs. Today we're going to talk about Primus, band I'm very fond of and have been listening to for a very long time. And excited to get to this one because the song Frizzle Fry, which is what we're covering today, has one of my favorite endings of a song ever. We'll get to that in a little bit. Primus has a decent sized catalog, and I discovered them as an opening band in San Francisco. We'll get to that also. So Primus has been around a long time. They formed in 1984 in El Sobrante, California, which it's in the Bay Area, California, essentially. They've had multiple lineup changes early on in the early years before they were making, recording and releasing music. But they settled with Les Claypool, who's I would say, the primary member of the band. He does the bass, of course, famous for his bass playing and vocals, his wacky vocals. And Larry Lalonde on guitar, and Tim Alexander on the drums. And one of the things actually that really attracted me to Primus early on was Tim Alexander's drumming. I'm very, very fond of his drumming style. I also like the way that they mix the drums in some of their albums. The mix on the drums is great. I always like that right combination of course, all the cymbals, but the snare and the bass, and all the toms and everything, and like the way they mix a lot. So their first album that they released officially was actually a live album called Suck on This. That was in 1989. And their debut studio album was Frizzle Fry in 1990. And there's a lot of similarities between the two. Suck on This is a bunch of the songs of Frizzle Fry, rather, are on Suck on This. That's not completely overlap, but probably maybe half of the songs are the same. And I love that they did that. It's really fun still to go back and listen to Suck on This from 89. And then hear how the songs, came across a year later. And Frizzle Fry, and then a couple other songs on Suck on This ended up on other future albums as well. Sailing the Seas of Cheese came out next, and that album actually went gold. Jerry Was a Race Car Driver was playing on MTV a lot, was playing on the radio a lot. I still hear it on the radio. They've got a few radio songs, actually. Jerry the Race Car Driver's probably played the most. I actually don't know that for sure, but it just seems like that's the song I've heard the most on the radio. So at least to me, that's what I hear the most. Surprisingly enough, Sailing the Seas of Cheese, which I always thought of as being their most popular album, they seem to peak there with their popularity. Was not their highest selling record. Pork Soda, which came out after that, I'm pretty sure, went platinum. So they were riding the wave of Sailing the Seas of Cheese, came out with Pork Soda, went platinum, and then I don't believe they ever achieved that again. And we see this a lot with bands, right? And I like Pork Soda, but I would say everything that preceded it, I like better. But I do like Pork Soda an awful lot. And actually making me want to re-listen to it now. So they also got the original lineup together around this time under the name Sausage and released an album in 1995. And when I say original lineup, I mean the original lineup before they recorded "Suck on This" and settled on the lineup I talked about earlier. So came out with Sausage. I remember getting that at the time. Excuse me. And then they came out with Tales of the Punch Bowl. And I remember buying each of these albums as they came out. Basically, everything Primus has done, I bought as it came out, with the exception of Suck on This. I bought that within a year of it coming out. I got that album, and everything else right as it came out. So it's kind of fun listening to how the band has changed over the years. I like when I follow a band like this over multiple decades. It's always exciting, when an album will come out from a band that you really like, and it's this like knowledge that there may be a real gem in here, and it's gonna be something that you may be listening to for the rest of your life. It's exciting. I don't know. It's the little things. Sometimes you like and follow a lot of bands. It's it actually used to be something I'd look forward to. I'd see that it's coming out, and me and everybody else, right? This is what you do with music. So after Tales of the Punch Bowl, Tim Alexander left, and that broke up that original lineup since they were recording for the first time, and Brian Mentia, I think it's Mentia, took over on the Skins, and then they came out with Brown Album, and they came out with another like EP. They went on a hiatus in 2000 because Brain left to go play with Guns N' Roses. So rather than get another new drummer, they went into a hiatus and started touring again like 10 years later, 2010. And they started doing some new music again. Tim Alexander came back, and they're still at it with that lineup, from the very early days. So, Primus also, Les Claypool also did a lot of side projects and has worked with a lot of different musicians, and I didn't prepare to go through all of them, so I won't even bother. But he's been in a lot of stuff. So if you're a Les Claypool fan, you'll find a vast array of things out there that he does, and he tours with these other bands too. And I've listened to all of them, and some of them I like, some of them I'm less so, and I've always preferred Primus over all of it, for whatever reason. So the first time I heard Primus, or one of the, no, actually this would have been, first time I heard Primus was in San Francisco at a place called The Stone, which isn't there anymore. But I was a Faith No More fan during Faith No More's very early days. Not very, very early days, but the very early Mike Patton days. And they were opening for Metallica. And I saw Metallica a bunch of times on the And Justice for All tour. Faith No More opened for those shows. And when I saw that they were headlining at the Stone, which is a very, very small venue, it's like seeing a band at at a bar, but they did have like the race station and everything. It wasn't like they were in the corner or something. So it was a proper venue, but a small venue. I have the ticket here because this is one of my all-time favorite shows ever. Here it is right here. Can you see it? Can you see it? Yeah. So Faith No More, and look who's opening, Primus. It's a bummer this place isn't here anymore. It was on Broadway. And I went in 1990, April of 1990. So I had just turned 19, I guess. Is that right? Yeah, I just turned 19. And it was a very intimate show because, again, it was small. And, of course, I loved Faith No More. They were touring with The Real Thing then. And Primus opened, never heard of him before, and was blown away. I thought it was such a great show. And I immediately went out and got Suck on This. It was right around the time Frizzle Fry came out. And I can't remember what happened first. I think Frizzle Fry was maybe after. I don't know. But right around that time, Frizzle Fry came out. And so I listened to the shit out of those two records. And been a fan ever since. So next, I went and saw them at the Crest Theater in Sacramento, which is like a... That's like a Warfield type setup, but without the front. It's actually not like a Warfield setup. That's a shitty description of the Crest Theater. It's just a theater. There's no real floor area. They made the mistake. Here, let me show this again. Wait, I gotta do it like this. Crest Theater. This would be 1991. And look who's opening. Look at that. Who's opening that? Tad. What? Yeah. Tad, and my love of Tad came from Primus. When I saw Primus at the Crest, Tad opened. I was blown away by Tad and have been a big fan of Tad ever since. And I think we get to them eventually. They're still on the wheel, yet to be chosen. So we'll talk more about Tad later. But this show was pretty bonkers. There isn't really a floor area, a proper floor area. Like I said, it's just seats that are like theater seating, like a movie or a play or something. And then they would have the railing, and then the stage, and then I was pretty close to the front, and they foolishly allowed, because it got really rowdy, they foolishly allowed people, like maybe 2 or 3 rows, 4 rows of people, whatever it is, so many feet of people between the stage and the little barrier thing, and then the front row of seats, and that little area of, call it 10 feet, whatever it is, 6, whatever it is, got crammed and packed with people, and then people couldn't see, so then more people came out of the seats and then came down to the stage, but you couldn't get there, so people were climbing over the chairs, and then, I was 5-6 rows back, so then it's like, okay, I guess we're climbing over the chairs, and we climbed over the chairs, and then pretty soon, the front row chairs started popping out of the ground. They're bolted into the cement. They start popping out of the ground. It was a mess. It was like chairs and all sorts of humanity just crammed up at the front. Sort of dangerous. Not really a great idea. Probably should have just enforced, hey, everybody, get in your seats. Once they let it go, it went. And another remarkable show, Tad opening, like I said, and Primus, and it was great. And then some guy came out at the end, I think it was before Primus, it was between Tad and Primus, and had announced that they had sold the most tickets they'd ever sold for the Crest Theater ever for that show. And they sure crammed him in there. But we had broken a record. Crest Theater had been around a long time. So another remarkable show. And then I saw Primus a bunch of times in arenas opening for Rush, which is cool for a lot of different reasons. They would come out and they would start with YYZ, the beginning of YYZ, like they do on Suck on This. So if you listen to Suck on This, the very first thing you hear when you turn it on is the beginning of YYZ. They're big Rush fans, and or Les Claypool is anyway. So it was cool that they got to open for Rush. I mean, that was probably very cool for them. They're also a 3-piece band. Both bands have remarkable bass players. So it was a really fun way to start a Rush show for sure. I think it was Roll the Bones tour. No, Presto. I don't know. One of those. It was either Presto or Roll the Bones. I want to say Presto, actually. Next up, over when I was going to college in San Jose State, the Event Center Arena, which is right very, very close. I don't know, 100 yards, less than 100 yards, 50 yards from my dorm room. I talked about this before. I saw a bunch of shows there, and I got some friends together. It was very early in my time in San Jose. This is March, so yeah, that makes sense. 92. So a couple of years after, I had saw him at the Crest Theater, which was very cool. So I actually lost track of how many times I saw Primus, because these ones I have tickets for, I think I saw them a couple times opening. But, at some point I stopped collecting tickets. I did see them recently. I saw them a couple years ago in the Memorial Auditorium of all places in Sacramento, which was cool. I haven't been in the Memorial Auditorium in a long time. It was cool to go there again and see them. They had a pretty big show, being like a big grown-up band now, selling larger venues. So they had the whole projector in the background and the whole thing. It was great. I had a great time. But this is the other one I went to. It was the Warfield on Halloween 2003. And I went with my then girlfriend, now wife, and we had a great time. I was particularly interested in the show because they were playing Sailing Seas of Cheese, beginning to end. Yeah, so they played the whole album, and it was obviously really cool. So they played the whole album, and then they did like your greatest hits otherwise. Then they came out with a similar thing with Frizzle Fry, where they played all of Frizzle Fry and did some greatest hits. I have that on DVD. I think I still have it on DVD. I didn't get rid of all my DVDs. So, while I've talked way too long about my show experiences, but they're among some of my favorites. And back in the day, I used to discover so many great bands by seeing opening bands. And so there's a string of them here. Anyway, let's check out the featured song, or the song that I picked for my 100 songs list. I like a lot of Primus songs, so again, other songs that could have been in this slot, but I do particularly like this song. I really like the ending of the song. I think it's got one of the greatest endings ever. The little jam they do is great, and that's what we're going to listen to. So I don't think we're going to even catch any vocals, but people know Primus. I doubt anybody's even really made it this far into the video anyway, but let's listen to the jam at the end of Frizzle Fry. so good. That's so awesome. Oh, that's yummy. That's an example of the mix that I like, the way the bass sounds. Well, obviously Les Claypool's bass sounds a little different, but I'm talking about the bass drum. I like the way the mix is in this album. That's it. We are going to see what our next episode is going to be about. Okay, so we are all set for next time, and episode 70. It's hard to believe, but that's where we're at. So we're going to listen to something off of Electric Larryland. Of course, not Electric Ladyland, from the mighty Jimi Hendrix, which we're going to cover at some point in this series. But Electric Larryland next time. Thanks.